If you want your ex back, you probably want it to happen now. Well, unfortunately, it takes time for your ex to go through the mindset shift that will bring them back to you. And sometimes it takes quite a long time. Hi guys, I'm Brad Browning, best-selling author and YouTube's #1 breakup expert. I offer simple, concrete advice that you can actually use to win back your ex. So please like this video and subscribe so I can keep making more free videos for you guys. So lately I've noticed a trend among my clients that goes against conventional wisdom. And I'm talking here about people winning back their exes after being apart for longer periods of time. 6 months, a year, and even longer. And yes, despite what people say, it is possible to win back an ex after a longer period of time. And it actually does happen more frequently than you'd probably think. It turns out that, romantic love doesn't just disappear after you've been apart for a little while. In fact, in many cases, that time apart can actually help you realize how much you need this person in your life. And this video isn't just for those of you who have already been apart from an ex for a long time. This is also for people who recently went through a breakup, because some of these signs will be evident right away, while others are going to take some time to become clear. Now let's start and dive in with #1 on the list, which is you had a messy breakup. So if you and your ex did have, a pretty tumultuous relationship and a tough breakup, then, it makes sense that they'll take a long time to come back to you. Now you might say, our breakup was really bad. Doesn't that mean they won't come back at all? But really, not necessarily. See, the hardest ex to get back is the one who simply doesn't care at all. So if your relationship, slowly drifted apart, then your breakup was probably pretty anticlimactic because, you were both sort of checked out. But if your breakup was, hot and fiery, then that means that you both still had a lot of passion, and you both still cared about one another, even while breaking up. So while you and your ex clearly, had big issues, you also had and have, big feelings for one another. And this combination is going to draw your ex back to you like a magnet, but it's also going to take a while to get over all of that negativity. And sign #2, their new partner is just like you. Now, yes, this is something that I have noticed among my clients. Often they'll lament the fact that their ex has started dating again, which obviously I totally understand. But when we dig into this new person, we find that they're basically a carbon copy of my client. Now, I'm sure I don't need to tell you that if your ex is dating somebody just like you, then that's a sign that they're not over you and will very possibly come back to you before long. So, this can include looking a lot like you, but it's also about their personality, their job, their mannerisms, whatever. The more boxes they tick here, the more likely it is that they're still hung up on you. And this is actually a pretty common pattern. If we start dating too quickly after a breakup, it's usually out of a desire to replace the other person. So if they end up finding someone just like you, then it's pretty clear that's what's going on there. And you may not see it personally, but your friends or their friends, if they're bringing this up, then it probably is the case. And of course, sometimes your ex just does have a type, but if your ex's new partner feels a little too familiar, then you should probably trust your instincts. Sign #3 is if they're stubborn. So if your ex is a stubborn person, then that is a really good sign that they'll come back, just not right away. So here's how it usually goes with stubborn people. You bring up an issue in the relationship, they argue with you, they say this isn't an issue or you're just flat out wrong about it, but this is important, so you keep bringing it up. And instead of listening to your point or view, they blow up the relationship so they don't have to actually admit that they were wrong and commit to change. But now that you're apart, they feel a sense of victory that they didn't budge. But deep down, they know that you were right. And this feeling is going to eat at them over time. And the thing about stubborn people is that they're often lonely because they don't want to compromise and would rather cut people off than have a conversation. So that loneliness will push them towards you over time. But of course, as I said, stubborn people, they don't want to admit that they were wrong. So they're going to take a long time to come to terms with the fact that they need you in their life. So in that case, you may need to wait. And sign #4 is you're still in the same community. Now, I often talk in my videos here about why you shouldn't be friends with your ex if you want them back, and I do stand by that. But if you and your ex still hang around the same people, frequent the same places, and do all the same activities, then it is going to help you out if you've been apart for a longer stretch of time. Now, in the short term, I would still recommend you avoid them like the plague. Give them a chance to miss you, to process the breakup, and avoid misunderstandings and arguments. Of course, that's called no contact, and it works amazing in the short term. But after a month or two, you need to figure out how to reconnect with your ex in a way that's not going to feel threatening to them. And if you have a bunch of mutual friends, or you're always at the same pottery studio or whatever, then this is going to be much easier than if you have absolutely nothing in common. It's also going to give you a reason to reach out and ask them questions without scaring them off. And this first contact is going to lead to more, and with a little finesse, you will be able to get back together with them. But what if you're struggling to make contact with your ex after the breakup? Well, it can be hard to make the first move because it's so important that you don't screw it up. And that's where I can help, because I offer coaching to people hoping to get their exes back just like you. So go to breakupbrad.com/coaching to learn more, and together we can put together a plan and make it happen faster than you can imagine. Again, you can get all the details and sign up at breakupbrad.com/coaching. Now on to sign number 5, they still try to make you jealous. Now this is one that works no matter how long it's been since the breakup, because if your ex is, very obviously trying to make you jealous, then this is a very good sign that they want you back. I mean, think about it. If your ex was over you and never coming back, then why would they care whether you're jealous or not? So if your ex is being very blatant about the fact that they're with somebody new or they're dating around, it's because they still want you to chase them. Or in rare cases, it's because they're trying to get revenge and hurt you. But either way, it does show that they're still emotionally invested in you. So regardless of whether or not your ex is intentionally trying to make you jealous, you always want to avoid giving into it, at least if you want them to take you back. So don't lash out at them in anger or show any sign that you've been emotionally affected by them dating again since the breakup. Act like you don't care, and don't even mention or ask about who they're dating. If you talk about their dating life since the breakup, or especially if you actively try to sabotage it and stop them from seeing new people, you're really only going to make your situation worse, and you're definitely going to reduce your chances of ever getting them back. So simply put, any kind of jealousy, either your ex becoming jealous or trying to make you feel jealous, is normally a strong sign that they may still like you and they're definitely still interested. And sign number 6, they still reach out on birthdays or special occasions. Now this one is pretty common, but it can speak volumes to your ex's mental state. So if they send you a birthday message, obviously this is a good sign. And if they use this to catch up and start a conversation, then that's even better. And bonus points if they reach out before you've even posted about it anywhere. That means they've written it down, put it in their calendar, or they just remember it. And signs are that they're very invested. They might even have been waiting for this for weeks just so they could have an excuse to message you out of the blue. And sign number 7, they left things open-ended. Now, there's a lot of different ways to actually break up. It could have come out of betrayal, it could have been a slow loss of feelings, or it could be, just one huge blowout fight. But sometimes a breakup will leave the door open, for something in the future. This usually comes with a few addendums, like if you break up for, no reason or because of some fundamental compatibility, then it doesn't make sense to get this offer. So if your ex hasn't made you this offer, don't despair because it is really quite rare. This can really only happen if the breakup comes about because, there's something that's keeping you two apart. Maybe it's not the right time. Maybe one of you is working a lot. Maybe you're going away for school. Maybe you're on assignment or posting for the military. There's just so many things that can prevent a relationship that are totally out of our control. And many of these things actually are temporary. So in this case, at some point during the breakup, your ex will say something like, if things were different, or, I wish this could work out, or maybe someday when things are different, then this is a sign that they're at least leaving the door open a crack for something in the future. Now, obviously, it can be really hard to hear something like this, from somebody who just dumped you, but it is a good sign that they may eventually come back to you if things do change. Sign number 8, they're still single. So, even if your ex seemed to grieve the relationship and to move on, if they are still single, then this is a good sign that they may eventually come back to you. And there's actually a couple of reasons for this. A perpetually single ex is probably somebody who's particularly choosy about who they end up with. And as time goes on and they find they aren't able to find somebody who measures up to you, then it becomes even more likely that they'll realize that they might have given up on you a little bit too quickly. Because, the thing about choosy people is they're often pretty dispassionate. Meaning that they aren't going to get wrapped up with the wrong person simply to fill a hole or because they're overwhelmed by emotions or lust or anything like that. And this lack of passion in your ex is actually going to help you get them back because it means that they probably aren't held back by their pride. They'll make the right decision regardless of temporary discomfort. And that means there's less of a barrier to them admitting that they were wrong to actually end the relationship and be willing to ask you for a second chance. And of course, your ex might still be single because they simply can't find anyone else. And this is less romantic for sure, but it can be very effective if you want them back because they are going to be driven by desperation. Really, all you have to do is play it cool so they can't tell that you're desperate too. And of course, there are also exes who remain single because they aren't over you. And I'm sure I don't have to tell you why this works in your favor. All right, and sign number 9, they want to be friends. So does your ex seem, very keen on continuing to be friends after your breakup? Maybe they mentioned the idea that you could stay friends during the actual initial breakup, or maybe they've just started to pitch the idea lately. Perhaps your ex is even trying to make you feel guilty when you don't agree to be friends, or, they get upset if you take too long to respond to their messages or don't always agree to hang out or pick up their calls. Now, Being friends is, as I mentioned earlier, a terrible idea, at least most of the time, if you do want to get them back. But that is a topic for another video. And in fact, I have already made a past video on that, so I'll link to that in the description below. But for the sake of this video, just know that if your ex seems really set on the idea of maintaining a friendship after breaking up, that's often a strong sign they're testing the waters and they want to slowly reconnect with you to see if you can start again. But it isn't a good idea to actually go ahead with the friendship. By cultivating a friendship with you, your ex can continue to enjoy your company and alleviate some of the most painful post-breakup emotions. Instead of, having to deal with the shock of their boyfriend or girlfriend vanishing from their life, being friends allows them to slowly adjust to life after the breakup. And it also ensures that you're still around as a backup plan in case they can't handle being single and later want to change their mind and get back together. So what this tells you is that your ex isn't comfortable with the thought of a post-breakup life without you. They don't want to let go of you fully because they know they'll miss you even more if you disappear from their life entirely. So the more they seem determined to stay friends, the more they seem to get offended or hurt when you miss their calls, take a long time to respond to their messages, or just don't agree to hang out or continue to maintain a friendship, then the more obvious it is that they're missing you and they're trying to cling to any way just to keep you around. And if it's been a while since the breakup, you may be tempted to try this just as a ploy to get closer to them and eventually win them back. Now, I don't usually recommend this because it can really confuse things. Many exes will be reluctant to actually pursue a relationship with you, and so being friends can be a good happy medium for them. They can flirt, hang out, and spend time with you without actually having to commit to you. But the problem is once that friendship is built, it can be a barrier to reconnecting on a deeper, more romantic level. They may end up dating somebody else in the meantime. Then you might get jealous and lash out, and that's going to push them away. Or you might get wrapped up in drama in your new role as a friend, and that too can obviously hurt your chances. And whatever happens, this new setup is practically guaranteed to mess with both of your heads and really confuse your feelings. So really, it's better to skip this step entirely. So don't agree to a friendship with them, but don't push a relationship right away either. If they bring it up, deflect and change the subject, but still make an effort to spend more time with them and reconnect in the ways that you used to. All right, guys, that brings us to the end of this video. Hopefully you now realize that, in a lot of cases, all hope is not lost, and there is still a chance that your ex will come back to you eventually. If you're tired of waiting, don't be afraid to reach out, but if you do, make sure you have a plan going in and don't come on too strong. Also, don't forget to take my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz to find out your chances and get some recommendations moving forward. All right, that's it. So please like this video, subscribe, and leave a comment below. And thanks so much for watching. See you guys in the next video.